Oh, I'm actually live. All right, good morning, bows and bow ties. Black opinionated woman here, also known as a bow. Let me see if I can get in here pretty good. Okay, so it's been a while since I have been live. I don't go live as often because um, I had to take that off the plate a little bit. I had a lot I was dealing with, good, bad, and different. But let me just start off by saying, you see the title, right? There's a reason why I'm touching my hair. The title, what did I call this? An honest midlife check in. So, what you're seeing on screen right now, I have a quick weave in. So, I'm sure you've seen in other videos, I had dyed my hair, I had gone away, my hair started breaking off. It looked terrible. So, I actually have gone in, cut my hair down, and then I put in the quick weave, which I like. The next time you guys see me, maybe not, or when I take this out, let me tell you, I'm probably gonna have like a 20-inch bust down, maybe a 24-inch bust down, because I'm going through it. Okay. I don't think you can see my tracks. I think I did a decent job for my first time putting in my quick weave. Now, let me just get on to the point as to why I'm live. So I have been doing a little bit of a check in with myself. And I tend to think a lot. I would say even overthink some things. Um, I just want to say for the record, this is not like, I just want to say I'm not in a crisis. I mean, I'm going through it. It's not a crisis. I'm just doing a little bit of a check in. Okay. So that's all I want to do. I just wanted to let you know that I'm checking in. So what I've been doing was I realized that I have these mixed emotions. I'm like, can I be happy and sad at the same time? And I think the answer is yes. No, I'm not terribly depressed. I'm not floating either in like extreme happiness. I have this middle ground, which is actually a good thing, I think. Let me just say this. My daughter, a few weeks ago, she mentioned that she was bored. And I told her, what a blessing to be bored, because that means there's nothing too high or too low. All your needs are met as far as we know. Like, it's the mundane. The mundane is actually, I've learned to appreciate the mundane. Because if you're not appreciating the mundane, if you're not in a space with the mundane, then that means there's something either really, really sad or bad that could be impacting your life, or it could be happy, right? You have these wild swing of emotions. But one of the first things I wanted to talk about was my kids in midlife, uh, where the happy and the sad, like I struggle with this. We are in December of 2025. I'm not sure exactly when people are going to view this video. And I'm extremely happy that I have all four of my kids home with me. I have my college son home with me. Of course, then I have my high schooler and my two middle schoolers. I am, on the one hand, so happy that they're here, all under the same roof. I'm very, very happy. As far as I know, everybody's healthy. There's a lot to be thankful for. But then the other side of me is full blown psychotic. I lean in, especially with my boys right now, the ones who are older. I'm like, your grades need to be better. You don't have the luxury of just kicking it. I need you guys to be better people. I need your rooms to be cleaner. And they're probably like, but I'm like, I need better grades. I need you to have a sense of purpose. So I'm creating all of these things. I need to take, I forgot how to take this thing off my, how do I take off the bow? It's been a while since I've used this. Uh, Camera, visual effects, group layout. I don't even remember how to do it. I am so sorry. It's just going to stay there for now until I remember how to take it off. Jeez, how do I take this off? Anyway, it doesn't even matter right now. Let me stay on track. So yeah, I'm in this weird thing with midlife where um, I'm 49 years old. I've got my quick weave because I jacked up my hair. My hair was falling out, so I had to cut it down. So I like playing with it now because it's a lot easier than my real hair. So I got a quick weave in because I jacked up my hair. Um, I'm looking at my kids and I'm grateful for my kids. And I would say even my husband too. Like, I'm grateful for him. I love him, but he gets on my nerves too. Everybody gets on my nerves. Everybody gets on my mother loving nerves. So I struggle with this midlife crisis thing, right? But I'm not really having a crisis. I'm just trying to understand how can I be happy and sad at the same time. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Because there's people out here with real issues, real issues. So anyway, I sit here and I'm like, I'm so happy and thankful I have all four of my kids. But then I'm sitting there looking at them sideways like, uh, I think so. I definitely think it's menopause because I don't know. I'm sitting here. There are days when I am so happy. I'm like, I can cry because I'm happy with the mundane. And there's days when I'm so pissed off. I could cry because everybody is triggering me. So it is 4:26 in the morning, and I'm sitting here like, you're over here kirking out, like, and there's people with real problems, real problems. But anyway, let me just circle back to the kids for a second because I don't divulge their business or anything like that. Um, I'm sitting here like, do you guys know how good you have it? And I know they get tired of this conversation, but I'm like, I'm sitting here expecting people to be me. Menopause recalibrates hormones with ebbs and flows. This is true. Someone had mentioned this to me because one day I set it off on, I think, everybody, even the cat. The cat was like, I even got another cat. Now my husband's mad because he's like, you got two cats up in here. I'm like, well, we can't have a dog. You don't want us to have a dog. And he's like, heck is her problem? And I'm like, I'm going through it. So now I'm mad at the cats. My children are pissing me off. I'm like, do better. You know better, so you should do better. I don't know. So this is why I said, like, I feel like I got a lot of nerve because I have a lot to be thankful for. But then there's a lot that pisses me off. And I'm like, you got people out here with real problems. And I'm leaning in on my kids like, what about this seems right? All right, let me just talk about my sister for a second. I'm going to move on to something else. I talk with my sister, the one that's directly beneath me, several times out of the week. On the good side, we get it in. We laugh. She's funny. I bunny with her. We have a good time. But I also dread talking to her because every time I talk to her, she's like, well, so and so died. I'm like, why do you have to be the crypt's keeper? Why do you have to always tell me about who died? Why do you know this and why does it not bother you? She's like, well, remember so and so? Yeah, but they died about a week or so ago. Yeah, because I was on so and so and I saw it on their page and I'm like, look, this whole hearing about people dying stuff. See, I'm trying not to cuss because this is a family channel. But if I wasn't on here, the words that would be coming out of my mouth, I'm like, why do you have to keep telling me about all the people who are dying? It messes me up. When I think about like when one of your favorite aunts or whatever, when they're not doing well, people who have dementia or people, are in and out of the hospital, it just, I don't know what it is, but I'm like, I just want to be an ostrich. I never was that person, but I'm 49 now and I want to be an ostrich. I want to put my head in the sand. So on the one hand, I enjoy talking to my sister because she doesn't have any sense like me. She's the more calm one, actually. But it's not that I'm not calm, but I would say she's probably the more warm person, nurturing person. So on the one hand, I enjoy talking to her, but on the other hand, I'm like, you cannot bring me bad news. You cannot bring me bad news. You know what? I know you didn't mean this to be funny, Key Love Life. For those of you who may be listening in podcast land, when I eventually upload this, there's always a few relatives who scan the obituaries for everybody. Pillow turquoise hot chocolate. I don't know what that means. Pillow turquoise hot chocolate. Is that like a site or something? My sister is going to be one of those people. She's going to be one of those people. Well, so and so died because we know I saw on so. She's one of those. And it doesn't bother her at all. She's 2 years younger than me. She's 47. Me, I'm like, I'm ready to like lose it, right? She's just like, you know. Oh, she said it's an emoji. Oh, pillow turkey hot chocolate. Oh. I think I know which one you're talking about now. I don't know why I didn't catch that. Okay. But yeah, so she's one of those people who wants to bring me bad news about who's dying. And I'm like, I don't need it. But we know that we're at this stage in life where a lot of people are starting to check out. A lot of our older family members are checking out. Um, Let me just say this. Most, I think about 99, maybe all of the viewers don't know this, but back in October of 2023, I lost my mom. And this was her favorite time of year. And someone had mentioned to me, we were talking about this time of year, and I said, I'm in a place now where it doesn't really make me sad, right? Because my mom loved Christmas. But I will say I do reflect a lot. Hence, I'm out here on Jesus's internet talking about why people get on my nerves. But anyway, I just wanted to just talk about the hot and coldness of everything, the happy and the sadness of everything that I'm experiencing, right? Because like I said, you can be happy talking to family, but on the same token, I'm like, can you not bring your freaking death information to me? Because we're already dealing with that with family members and old like family friends and the things. I'm done with that. I want to talk about being employed for a second. I mean, this is where I really was struggling with this. I am quite happy that I am employed. As far as I know, there's no danger to my position. Um, it was interesting because yesterday I was at work and I was listening to there are people who are going to be moved out of their position um, because of the way their position, um, the requirements for their position, or I don't even know how to say this. Those positions are being eliminated, and they had to find a new position that could suit their skill set. Meaning, these were some highly trained, highly capable people with a great skill set, but because they are not degreed individuals, they were, there was a period of time when people can get positions of employment, and they did not necessarily need a degree because maybe if you came in as a young person and you learned the ropes. And so we're in a situation where we're going to lose some people who are highly skilled, highly trained individuals that are kind of like a heartbeat of what it is we do. I'm an engineer, by the way. So if you're wondering what I'm talking about. And so on the one hand, the role that I'm in, I'm actually not super technical for the role that I'm in. It's more on a consultant basis, on an advisory basis, right? You handle, I call it the mundane things that are the most unsexy. And I probably in another couple years or so, I might go back to a more technical role. But where I'm going with this is like, on the one hand, I'm happy. I'm not in danger of losing my position. Um, I see people who are having to deal with those challenges, and I have mixed emotions about it because I also feel like even though they're highly skilled, and I hate for people to have their livelihood being like jerked around a little bit, I think they're going to land okay, just to go to a different role. But also, I'm like, but what the requirements are moving forward. You knew this was going to come up at some point in your life where they need you to have some form of education, right? So it's like you chose to continue to go along and not, if you know for this type of work that they are looking for people to have education at some point. Now, let me just say this. I don't even know, this is going to be a slight segue off the topic, and I'm going to bring it back. The people who are largely being impacted by this don't look like me. Still good people. And on the one hand, I feel like if they looked like me, would they have been given grace? Let me see. I see you put something up here. Be careful, sis. Most women in engineering architecture are heavily pushed out at 50. Yeah, you're right. But I am not concerned about mine because they need people. We are short people by a whole lot. And also, I do have a skill set that I can move to something else pretty quickly. But let me be clear. I want to not do this in another 5 years. Okay, let's be clear. I'm hoping if I can get my kids up out of school, I can just be an old cat lady. Um, but where I was going with it is, I'm looking at these individuals. You know what it is, and you chose not to make any changes. On the other hand, I'm also like, wow, these are real people, good people. If you take off what the skin color looks like, these are real people. Um, so I don't know. I'm torn. I'm happy for myself. I'm not overly thrilled with what I do, but it's meaningful. It's just not the sexy stuff right now. I'm heavily compensated for it. I go to work, and generally speaking, I don't even have any major stress. And I've been very fortunate to land that particular position and not be stressed. And yet, the midlife crisis in me is like, what is wrong with you? You're happy that you have it, but then you're like sad because you're like, this doesn't move me. I don't know. It's making I actually feel ungrateful. I'm going to move on to the next thing. I'm going to talk about body for a second. Body changes. Um, there's so many things I can say, and I'm going to try to just keep this. I don't know what I'm doing. On the one hand, I think I'm healthy. As far as I know, I go to my yearly checkups. Every year, I feel like a hypochondriac, and the doctor probably thinks I'm psychotic. I don't know. I mean, I say that a little tongue in cheek, but I seriously go to the doctor every year. My hand to God. And I am in a full blown panic. And I'm like, am I dying? Do I have cancer? Do I have congestive heart failure? Am I having an aneurysm? On the one hand, I believe I'm healthy. But on the other hand, every little thing that starts to ache and irk me and all the things, I freak out. And I'm like, what is going on with this body? I'm happy for what I believe is good health. But as I'm sitting here yammering on, and I should be grateful as far as I know that I'm in good health, all I can think about is this chin. and I'm thicklicious now. I'm not fat, but I'm like, I went from being fit, I went from being an athlete to like, I just want a sausage, egg, and cheese sandwich on a plain bagel. I want a sausage, egg, and cheese on something. Everybody else I know is eating a bowl of air and a glass of water, or they're on GLPs. And my greedy self is like, I really want a breakfast sandwich with a really good cup of coffee. Now, let me tell you why this sounds ridiculous, right? Because I feel like when we start talking about bodies and health, as far as I know, I'm in good health. I'm happy that as far as I know, I don't have any major issues going on. But I'm also kind of like not thrilled with the fact that I'm not super fit. Part of it is my lifestyle because I have to start prioritizing myself more. I have been, I think, giving so much of my time to my family, and I haven't prioritized myself. So I'm happy on the one hand that I think I have good health, but on the other hand, I'm like, why do I have a weak bladder? Am I going to be on Depends? I mean, I'm dead serious. Like this is like the reality of it. I'm like, what's up with this whack bladder? Why is my sleeping so weird? Now I knew about this for a while, for the last decade or so, dealing with the sleep issues. And I feel like I'm almost ungrateful. Instead of just saying thank you, God, for the body that I have, it could be worse. I'm more like, why am walking around here trying to be the next Teletubby because I don't want to be on GLPs? Or maybe I should be on a GLP. But I'm like, every time I see people on GLPs, they look weird. Their face starts looking weird. Just, I don't know. Like I said, these aren't real problems. There are people out here with real problems, and I'm sitting here having a midlife crisis check-in, talking about why I'm not on a GLP and how I want a sandwich. Like, there are people with real problems, and I'm like, this makes no sense. Maybe you need to do a cleanse, a parasite cleanse and/or intermittent fast. Yeah, my little greedy self tried the intermittent fast and it worked until I stopped doing it. Walking more can help you purge anxiety and trust yourself more. This is true. Now let me tell you something about the walking thing. It is true. Um, the issue I have been running into now. Look, here comes the excuses. Just be ready. Just get your little notes out. I have talking points, by the way. That's why I have my little sticky notes here. Get your notes out. Here comes the excuses, which is partially true. I had started walking and I was feeling better. But because it's winter and it is cold as brick outside and uber dark, for where I take my kids for their practices and stuff at night, it's not conducive for me to do any walking. Parasites love sweets and pork. Child, because let me tell you something. See, let me tell you where the excuses. See, here it goes. You ready for this? I took my daughter last night. We went to go get some pho, however you want to pronounce it. And of course, I had to order the little crispy rolls, pork rolls. This is why I said there are a bunch of excuses. Let's be clear. There's a bunch of excuses. Let's be clear. Excuses. Okay. But where I was going with it is the walking thing, just because of the time of year where we are and the transport to and from, it really is not conducive for walking. Once we have more daylight, once the location changed because we're more outdoors for certain sports or whatever it is, yes, I plan to resume my walking. But there's nothing stopping me from carving out 10 or 15 minutes at home to do something. I'm just usually tired. But you see, here are the excuses. The excuses. Okay, look, we gotta call a thing a thing. Anyway, this is why I'm talking about. It's me. The issue is me. But I definitely am a little freaked out about not being as fit as I used to be. I definitely, it's me. Um, Now, this is one thing that I probably shouldn't talk about, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. I have two of my kids in private school. I'm trying to move the other one over. Hopefully, I don't know. He might get in, most likely get in. I don't know. But financially, we can't afford three kids in private school. We cannot. I told the school, I'm telling you right now, I cannot afford for my other one to go here. Like, I just can't. Um, unless somebody is going to drop a pile of cash in my front yard, it's not happening. And this sounds so unserious of a conversation, but this conversation, this topic actually weighs on me because I think about my son, who I believe needs to be in this school and the things that they provide, and the opportunities. If he gets in, it would be such a great thing. I can't even afford to send him there. And it makes me feel like a piece of, you know what? He didn't want to go there at first. He's the one I think that needs to go there the most. And I left him where he was. And now I'm trying to move him over. And now I'm sitting here like these, like I said, these are not real problems. These are first world problems. But this is the kind of thing I'm dealing with in midlife. I'm like, am I being unfair to him now? Am I not giving him the opportunity? You know? So on the one hand, you could be happy if he gets in. He might get in, but he's horrible at test taking. He is terrible. I'm like, how are you making it in life? Um, but then I'm like, I can't afford it. And I'm like, if they can't figure something out, I'm like, I can't afford it. And so you think about the financial impact. You think about, am I sacrificing his future? Is he, you know what I mean? You said invest in weekly and monthly ETFs. We already do that. See if you can get an outside grant. You know, we're checking into a couple things. Um, yeah, we already are invested in ETFs. So my whole big thing is, it's like, these aren't real world problems. There are people who are, like I said, on my job, they're going to be moved out of their position. You've got people with spouses who are very ill. You've got real world problems happening, and yet me and my midlife crisis, I'm happy and sad at the same time about things that, I don't know. Nevertheless, those things matter to me. So I'm sure if you've seen any of my previous videos, I value education greatly. One of the things I tell my kids all the time is, I push my kids in, not the trades, not because the trades aren't useful. The trades are great, but the trades also, you can get replaced by AI and automation and all the things. I feel like the ceiling on trades is not as high as if you're getting your education and other things. Now, where am I going with this? Everyone's always like, "Oh, you can start your business if you." I'm like, "Yeah, but most people don't start a business when they're in the trades." Let's stop that. Let's be honest. Number two, I've always said, when you go to college, the knowledge that you're getting is not just in your discipline. I keep telling everyone that you're really studying, I would say, systems. It's all interconnected. You're learning how to network. There's a lot more self-discovery, in my opinion, because you're away and you're faced with challenges. And that's not to say that you can't get that in a trade, but when you go and you study a discipline, right? They typically will ensure that you're getting cross trained in a lot of other things. So maybe you don't have a degree in that other area, but you get so much from your education. I agree. Thank you. Um, you get so much. I explain to people that, like, when I went to school, now I came out with an engineering degree, but when I was there, I actually started off as a physics major, believe it or not. But when I was there, I had to learn across multiple disciplines in order to get that degree, multiple engineering disciplines. But also, they make you take classes that are not engineering classes to understand, like, just understand. Let me tell you something. I actually learned this out of school, believe it or not. I remember I was in a seminar maybe 10, not quite 10 years ago. And you know how you always know something, but you never put a name to it? I believe it was with, maybe it was Google. I don't, was it Google? I think it was Google. I remember Google said something like, when we're looking for diversity, we're not just looking at race. And I was like, okay, well, where are they going with this? And they were like, so of course you want racial diversity because you have different perspectives. They said, but it gets deeper than that. They said, like, for example, if we're looking for Black students, we're not going to go find Black students just from an HBCU. We want Black students from other areas, right? We want engineers and scientists, whatever, from other areas in the country, because everyone's going to have different perspectives on things, different methodologies, right? And then they were like, but we also want people who come from various backgrounds, if we can find that information out, right? They said it's good to have people who are wealthy and not wealthy. And it made me think of, now don't judge me by this. This is how I likened it. This is how I made the comparison. I feel like I'm about to get flamed for this. I liken it to, if you're trying to solve a problem in supply chain, you have people who've been formally trained on trying to figure out their supply chain issues. But what if you're from the hood and you are a pharmaceutical rep of the not so legal kind? What if you were selling a particular product and you were having issues sourcing your product or transporting your product? Where am I going with this? You're still dealing with a supply chain issue, but how you solve those problems, right? And where I'm going with it with the Google thing, they were saying, like, people who come from different backgrounds, they have problems that they solve, but they solve them differently. And so I could talk to my kids. I said, you want to travel the world, right? Traveling the world is going to allow you to see different things. I think one of my favorite things that I used to discover was, like, whenever I would go to, like, some place like in Asia, like Japan is a good one. They have all the best gadgets in the world, and I like collecting gadgets. I don't know why. I probably should get on somebody's couch for it. I just like gadgets. But they solve problems that we all have slightly different. Problems that I didn't even know I had. I'm like, oh my gosh, I could use this gadget. And where I was going with it was when Google made the comment that, like, every person has a perspective on things and how they solve these problems based off their environment, their culture, their upbringing, all the things. And that's why you need a collection of those kinds of minds in the room, because supply chain might look different to the person over here versus over there, but it's still a supply chain issue. How did they solve it? I really want to deep dive on that, but I'm getting off topic. I wanted to get back to, me in my midlife crisis. That's not a crisis, having these first world problems. And getting back to it, I was concerned about my child. I was concerned that maybe if he gets into this school, this private school with his siblings, since I'm enrolling him after the fact, I can't afford to send him. I can't afford to send him. And so then it becomes bittersweet, because you're like, on the one hand, he got in. And now it's like, can't send you, buddy. You waited and waited and fought and fought and fought me, and now you're ready to go. And now I'm like, and you're the one I wanted to send, and I should have just been the parent and just, I took into account his feelings and his thoughts. You said maybe this is more of a midlife evaluation. It could be. But I am concerned that I should have just, as the parent, just said, you're going. And I have been looking into this for a few years, and I don't know. I try not to have regrets, but that one, that one stings a little bit. Let me tell you about. Let me end this because I feel like I've been talking too long. On the one hand, I want to talk about hair. Let's go back to the hair situation. On the one hand, I have virtually no gray hair. And for the most part, I have good skin. Now, granted, I just happen to be sitting at my counter and I have good lighting. Okay. But when I walk up out of here, the dark circles under my eyes, can you guys see this? It's worse in regular lighting. I look like I've been beat up. I look like I have gotten into like fisticuffs. I got my transitions I had to get this year because, if I don't have them on, I can actually see without them this close. It's a whole situation, right? So I'm sitting here thinking, like, on the one hand, and this is rooted in vanity, though. Like, this is the stuff I'm talking about. I'm like, how can you be happy and sad about stuff that's not even that big of a deal? I'm happy that I don't have a lot of gray hair. I get one or two strands. This is how my hair grows out of my head. Can you see that? Real talk. Can you see my edges? Look, I don't want to give up all my secrets because I got my quick weave in. That is how my hair grows out of my head. I'm gonna be 50 years old and I've been really fortunate. But let me tell you what's not fortunate. I have to take hair medicine for this little spot. Well, I have in the weave, right? There's a spot right here that at one point I was going bald, is growing back in and stuff like that. I have hair medicine because my hair's gotten thinner right there. I'm like, what is this? Do I have alopecia? Am I going bald? I mean, look, if I was going bald, I was going to be wigging it out all day, every day. But I had to go to the dermatologist for the last couple of years. We got it under control. The hair is growing back, not as thick. So now I'm trying injections just to help stimulate my scalp stuff. And they said, oh, yeah, it's going to work. It's going to be great. We'll find out. So, like, on the one hand, I'm happy that I don't have a lot of gray hair. But on the other hand, I'm like, yo, what is going on with that? Why is my hair thinner there? I'm walking around now like you can't even tell me. Well, if I style it right and curl it right and everything, my little quick weave is weaving. It's cute. I mean, obviously, I just brushed it down and so I can get on camera, but I have this little short little quick weave in to make it look close to my natural hair as possible. And as you can see the color growing out, that's how my hair is dyed. That's what took my hair out. Go on my TikTok, you'll see I look a hot mess. Yeah, these are the things, they don't matter, but yet I do focus on these things because I guess I'm not happy unless I'm focusing on something. But yeah, my hair fell out from putting that dye in. I must not have conditioned it right. I mean, it was cute for about a month and a half, 2 months until it wasn't. And then it all started breaking off. So I was walking around, back of my hair was looking like this. The other side was looking like this. It was just a mess. So actually what I did, I went and cut my hair. I cut it down. So it's actually, if I were to take this out, my hair is even all the way around. So right about here. It's actually kind of cute, actually. I should make it a bob. Where am I going with this? It's like I have these happy and sad moments. And I feel like I should be grateful. I'm not like super depressed. I should be happier. It's just where I'm at in my midlife. I wonder what's going on with my weirdo body, my little weak bladder. Weak bladder. You hear me? I need to start doing some pelvic thrust and strengthening and everything like that. I mean, it's just sad. It is sad. I, I'm like freaked out. I always think I'm dying, even if I'm not. I went through a period, no lie. This is going to sound crazy, where I was convinced that I was having a heart attack. And I never knew what anxiety felt like and stress until they were like, this sounds like, are you stressed out? I was like, I remember I went through a period. I want you to listen to this for a second. I said this on another video probably a year or two ago. I want you to listen to how ignorant I was. Several years ago, I thought I was having a heart attack. And I would go to the doctor and I was like, I think I'm having a heart attack. And they were like, there's nothing wrong with your heart. I'm like, I'm having heart attacks. They're like, no, you're not. Just, are you sleeping? And I was like, sometimes. They're like, I would go to work and out of nowhere, I would feel like I'm having a heart attack. And I would go in the bathroom and I was like, and I would start crying. And I would call a doctor. I'm having a heart attack. And they're like, I think you might be stressed. I remember going to my other sister's house for a birthday party years ago for one of her children. And I get to her house, their air conditioning happened to have broken. It was broken. I mean, there's nothing they could do about it. I mean, like they couldn't predict that, right? It was 11 degrees outside. And it was like pure Hades in that house. She was having it at her house. I get in the car and I tell my husband, take me straight to the ER. I'm having a heart attack. I get to the ER and the ladies, they must, I don't know. This sounds like kind of racial, but they found a black nurse tech. I'm not sure exactly what it was called, and like a nurse or whatever. I got put in a room and the lady asked my husband to step out because he was on his phone like this. He was like playing games. They asked him to step out. I was like, well, why does he step out? They're like, we need to talk to you. They were like, do you know what's happening right now? I'm like, no. They were like, you are having like a panic attack, some sort of anxiety attack. They couldn't even get blood pressure, blood drawn or anything because I was so like, then that didn't stop there because I was so convinced that I was having heart attacks. My doctor sent me to a cardiologist. I go to the cardiologist. They even had me wear the Holter monitor. They were like, okay. A couple days come back. I go, they read the results, and the female doctor says, not that it matters if she's a female, but it kind of does because I wanted to slap that B. She said to me, and it was shady the way she said it, but I think she said it in a way that would catch my attention. She said, oh, I have been a doctor for however many years, she said. I'm pretty good at what I do. And if there's something wrong with your heart, I'll catch it. There is nothing wrong with your heart. And I can't diagnose you, but you may need to go figure out what it is that's stressing you out. You need to go figure that out, throw some things off the boat. There is nothing wrong with your heart. And if there was something wrong with your heart, I would have found it. And so I don't know what psychological things are bothering you. Now, you know, I'm looking at her like this, beep, 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 beep. And she's like, there's nothing wrong with you. It's something psychological. And she went on and on and on, but basically was like, have a good day. You can leave my office now. She didn't say those words like that, but I think she saw my face and I was like, oh, I know I was giving her. I, and so she was like, yeah, there is nothing wrong with your heart. So after doing that, you think it would end there? No, because my sick self was convinced. I'm like, they don't listen to black women, black women. I went back to the doctor. They were like, I need you to go to sleep. I need you to go to sleep. So I finally started getting some sleep, and some of the issues finally arrested itself. But then, because I was so crazy during that time frame, I went from congestive heart failure in my mind and heart attacks to, out of nowhere, I got a couple headaches. I virtually never get headaches. So I'm like, is this a migraine? Is this an aneurysm? And it's all starting to converge around the time when people started dying in my 40s. So now let me wrap this up where I'm going with this. Why I say I love talking to my sister, but I hate talking to her, because she gives me all the bad news. I'm like, please stop telling me about everybody dying. I'm at the point right now, I just want to be ignorant. I want to be an ostrich. I want my head in the sand, and maybe only for 6 months. I don't know. But these are the kind of things that I'm dealing with menopause. I'm happy and sad at the same time. I feel like my body is a traitor. I got a weak bladder. On any given moment, I think I'm just gonna go wet my pants. I might be walking down the street one day and just have a full on. It's bound to happen. It's bound to it's bound to happen. I don't know. I need to start doing some Kegels or something. I need to like get myself together. All in all, I feel like I'm happy and sad at the same time. I'm not depressed. I'm not gonna go jump off my front stoop. I'm not going to, but I'm not overly happy either, right? I'm not overly sad. I'm just, it's just midlife. Uh, I don't know if anybody can identify with that. Heck, I can't really identify with it. I have more of these crazy stories, but for that period of time, I definitely thought I was dying. They were like, "Ma'am, please stop coming to my office." I used my medical insurance during that time frame. I'm just saying, I was in there. All right, so look, today was the day I was supposed to go to work and be there early. It is 5:06. I was supposed to be there by 5. It's not going to happen. It takes me about 30, 35 minutes to get there. I'm going to go ahead and make some coffee. Maybe not, because coffee is a diuretic. Um, yeah, that's what I'm dealing with in midlife. I have all kinds of other crazy stories. You put, it's the sick society projecting pains and body mind symptoms for us to run to doctors. When you have those pains, do breathing exercises and write in a grateful journal. Actually, believe it or not, I actually just started just praying about it, like just thanking God. I don't do it all the time, but I've also learned that like this is just part of the aging process too. You're gonna have these crazy little nagging aches and pains, and some of these things are self-inflicted. Like, I'm not going to eat the sausage, egg, and cheese on like sandwich, right? On like a bagel or anything like that today, right? I'm not going to do that. But I most certainly want one. I'm going to fill my water bottle with water. I drink a lot of water anyway. I'm going to fill my water bottle up with my filtered water from the house. I'm going to pack some berries to take. I don't think I have any more yogurt for breakfast. But that's not what I want. I don't want that. I don't want it. Let me rephrase that. I want that and the bacon or sausage, egg and cheese on bagel. That's what I want. But then I'm gonna sit there and whine about it because I'm like, I feel like a Teletubby now. And let me just say for the record, I am not big. I'm big by my standard, but I'm thicklicious now. Thicklicious. So with that being said, that's where I'm at in midlife. It was just really a check-in. It wasn't a true rant. There's more I could talk about. Um, a lot to be thankful for. But then the other side of me comes out, and I'm leaning on my kids too much. They're probably like, my mom needs to go somewhere. Pretend that you have your 25-year-old body and bladder is mind over matter. It does wonders. Maybe I should give that a try. But all right. I did not expect this to be a long video, and yet it was. This is a great opportunity for you guys to subscribe to my little channel. Because I'm practically perfect in every way and could do no wrong, except when I'm talking about all my midlife crisis issues. All my little notes I had on here today. And until next time, and like I said, I have been pulling back from being on camera as much just because I needed time and space. um, that's what I needed. Oh, let me just say one thing real quick, and then I'll get off. Not related to midlife. YouTube sent me a little year on end thing that I tend to watch. And the number one thing, I forgot what they call it. Basically, it was about like the sciences or whatever, like space and stuff. It was that. And then the other thing said relationships. I'm like, I don't really look up things on relationships. I watch a lot of sports, a lot of things on like space and the mind, the philosophy, whatever, all those kinds of things. You know, I like to look up those kinds of things. Sometimes I'll look at animals. I don't know why animals in the wild, safari animals. And it's funny because whenever I talk to people about like, what you consume on social media, it's a choice. It can influence your moods, your habits, and other things. And sure enough, they're like, you like to think a lot. Like, when I used to get out here and talk about why do we sit here and watch a whole bunch of videos on people tearing each other down, the weirdo manosphere stuff or whatever. Like, I'm like, stop feeding that. Stop feeding it. And I just want to say for the record, I'm just glad that I'm a woman of my word because sure enough, when it said what it is that I tend to watch, it was like, I forgot what they call the category, but it was basically stuff on science and space and mind tricks. And I like to look up things on like illusions, like optical illusions, anamorphic illusions, forced perspectives. I just like looking up those kinds of things and like what's it like if we were to go here and do this and how the effects of our body, like all the weird nerdy stuff, right? It's so important what you feed yourself. It's important what your algorithm feeds to you. In my algorithm, besides that kind of stuff, honestly, right now it's a lot of sports stuff. I'm a big sports person, so I get all the sports stuff. Occasionally, I get some of the weirdo relationship stuff. Occasionally, I'll select it. Occasionally, I don't. But to be honest, I don't feel like hearing about some weirdo dudes getting up on there talking about what's it like to be a man. I'm like, y'all don't even know. And then they pick the worst women to represent womanhood up on there. I do not know anything about a hemisync frequency. Never heard of that. But yeah, so I don't like to listen to a lot of those things because they're so fruitless. A lot of these people who get up there talking about relationships don't even have valuable relationships that can hold water. They give out the worst advice and they speak to the most damaged people about how to live their lives. And I'm like, there's no way I could ever dedicate any mental cycles to being on somebody's stage to talk about those things because they would walk me off. I'd be like, you're stupid. I'm like, why are you even, this is the thing that gets me the most. You'll have women going to men on how to catch a man. Men, not homosexual men, men don't know how to catch men. Men are going to tell you what they think they want. You need to go to women. They're the ones who can tell you how to catch a man. Those are the ones who's used to catching a man. If they're, you know, heterosexual, it's just stuff like that. I'm like, this is crazy. You've got men talking about, this is the thing that I keep hearing people talking about when they say, what do you want from women? Because, I do watch Pop the Balloon. I don't, look, this is my guilty pleasure. I get my hee-haws at some of this. I hear people get up there and they say, I want a woman who's going to give me peace. And I'm like, okay, no one wants to argue or anything like that, but I'm like, peace is here. It's a state of mind. It's like, well, what are you giving her? And it's all about these women have to give them peace. It's like they want no adversity. I don't know what it is, but when I hear people say that, I just want somebody's peaceful. I mean, we all want to be peaceful, but it just seems like, why is that a thing that you have to get up and say? on somebody's stage. What kind of person are you sourcing where you have to say, I want somebody to give me peace? Because if I had to get up there, well, I don't, but let's say if my husband should spontaneously blow up or something, well, I wouldn't want to date anybody, but like if I had to go look for somebody, like, am I going to say I want somebody to give me peace? Like, what kind of person are you sourcing? Like, it's just a weird thing. Like, I want no adversity. I want nothing. And I'm just kind of like, to me, something about that makes me think you are not a man. I don't know. Pop the Balloon is a social experiment. I love it. It definitely is a social experiment. I noticed that also, too. What I have seen is on that show, the way that they are bringing on these potential contestants or love interests, or the people who are like the one who gets to choose. They seem to be, in general, I think a little bit more respectful of people. At least from when I started watching it, because in the beginning it just to be like the Wild Wild West, and the people who are allowing themselves to be judged, to be picked, they seem to be that it seems like they're trying to source some better people. I think, I don't know. I'm not saying it's great. I definitely think it's a social experiment. I can't talk. But anyway, where was I going with this? I'm sorry. I got so far on track. I do believe the stuff that you source, like the stuff that you put into your algorithm that is getting fed to you, does play a part in your psyche. A lot of these people, they look at for the same types of shows and stuff to get into these weird echo chambers. And I used to always tell people, find something else to read about or study about or whatever on YouTube. There's so much content out there. The last thing I want to do is constantly listen to someone talk about what a good woman or what a good man is. And I'm like, but you're not somebody that, like, I don't know. The whole thing was so dumb to me. And I was like going through all my midlife crisis stuff these last few years. So the last thing I want to hear about is shenanigans. It was just so dumb to me. So anyway, feed yourself other stuff. I tend to feed myself about sports, animals in the safari, scientific stuff, occasionally some of the weird relationship stuff if it happens to pop up and if it doesn't look too stupid. Occasionally, I'll tell you what I will look up. Well, not look up, but what I will click on. Occasionally, I'll get something. I'm like, how did this algorithm figure this out? I'll occasionally listen to anything when they start talking about like colorism, because that seems to have surfaced a lot. And I'm sitting out here looking all bright on in this camera, and I'm curious to see who is being selected to represent light people and dark people and what comes out their mouths. I find it so anyway, a lot of times it's a bunch of blah, 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 blah. And I feel like if you're going to have those conversations, everybody has to be in the room. I don't think you need to have those conversations in a vacuum, and it has to be purposeful. It can't just be a whole big, you treated me bad, you cut my hair, I can't find a man. It's deeper than that. So, all right, let me get off because I can hear my husband's alarm went off upstairs, and I should have been at work already. We flip flop days because we get our kids up and get them out the door. But now I need to go take the clothes that have been drying out of the dryer, take those upstairs with the rest of my clothes, make some sort of lunch that I will be grossly unhappy with, and start my day. And then I'm going to be leaving work early because my kids have basketball games. But all right. Hemi sync frequency. I need to look that up because I've never heard of that. Hemi sync frequency. All right. Until next time, go watch all of my videos because I'm practically perfect in every way and can do no wrong. And make sure you subscribe.